Hey, what's up? This is Z/ from theouterhaven.net, here with Chris Bennet, writer of this new novel, Only Superhuman. What's Only Superhuman about?
Well, it's my attempt at a hard science fiction take at the idea of superheroes. Set in the asteroid belt a century from now, I wanted to take the concept of superheroes, which is usually treated fairly fancifully, and just try to come up with a plausible way that it could come about, both the powers and the institution and the social conditions that could make such a thing actually viable in real life. But it's also it's a bit of a deconstruction of comic book and superhero tropes, because you have to, looking at it realistically, there are bound to be some problems with the idea, but at the same time it's very much a celebration of the fun and adventure and spectacle and action of comic books.
Okay, so I guess, I mean, for a lot of the heroes that we do have, it does seem kind of ridiculous on its face that you'd have this guy who would have this power and then take it upon himself to become the law. So like, I guess, where issues where like that kind of ego would lead into some problems.
Well, in this case, it's more of a frontier environment where there really isn't a centralized authority to keep the peace. So it kind of, but there are a lot of people who have superhuman ability. I think people have had to embrace genetic engineering and the like in order to thrive in the harsh conditions of space and deal with the radiation and so on. And some have naturally taken it beyond just survival and given themselves special abilities. And so any individual can have a lot of power and do a lot of damage if they're so inclined. So there has to be somebody to step up and protect people, and that's where the troubleshooters come in. Those are the main hero group in the novel, and this is the story of Emerald Blair, who is called the Green Blaze, and she's a new troubleshooter who's also connected to a group called the Vanguardians, who are like her father's people, who were the first people who really tried to really enhance themselves beyond just basic survival, and the first to try to use their powers to do what we would call heroics. But that didn't really work out too well for them, and there was a falling out with kind of everybody. And it's and now they're back, and it's not clear what their motives are. And Emerald, because of her family ties, is sent in to just go in and find out what they're really all about. And she finds out that it might not be them that are the bad guys, it might be her own group, the troubleshooters, who have been compromised. And really it's all these questions about power and its use and abuse and who's the good guys. And everybody thinks they're the good guys, but the question is, are their methods going too far?
The Vanguardians, they sound like a trans-humanist group. Would that be accurate?
Exactly.
I mean, like, is the way that they modify themselves through like technology we already know?
Well, it's mostly genetic engineering, but there are a lot of groups out there. There are some that enhance themselves technologically. There are characters in this book, like the troubleshooters, have some genetically enhanced people, some bionically enhanced people, and some people who just like wear armatures that enhance their strength, like Iron Man, or like they actually have military prototype exoskeletons right now that can enhance soldier strength. Like,
oh, you mean the Hulk armor? HULC, that's what I mean.
Yeah, that's probably what. Yeah.
So yeah, how does this change society in these frontier environments?
Well, it makes things pretty turbulent, and it just as part of the general lack of organized law and order, because the asteroids, there is a very diverse, scattered group, lots of different populations living in different regions with different resources and orbits and relations to each other, and so that leads to a lot of cultural diversity, and they're all very, very individualist and don't always get along, and adding enhanced abilities and powers to that mix just makes it very volatile. So it really is the kind of situation that you see in a lot of superhero comics, where people just can be subjected to being in the middle of this big property-destroying battle between superpowered people at any given time.
Okay. So this isn't your first book, naturally. So what other books have you written?
Well, mostly what I've written is Star Trek tie-in novels for pocketbooks, including Star Trek Ex Machina, which was my follow-up to Star Trek the Motion Picture, picking up on the threads that were sort of hinted at in that movie and developing them further. I did 2 Star Trek Titan novels, Orion's Hounds and Over Torrent Sea. I did the Lost Era book, The Buried Age, which was about Captain Picard's missing years in the 9 years between the Stargazer losing that ship and getting the Enterprise. So I was the first person to tell that story.
What lessons have you learned from working with this established material in making your own unique book?
Oh, well, I don't know. It's actually, this is a book I've been working on for even before I got into writing Star Trek. I had the idea over 20 years ago, and this novel I actually first started writing it 9 years ago, about a little before my Star Trek career started actually. So that's writing Star Trek novels certainly helped me get a lot of practice, and particularly with help from my main Star Trek editor, Marco Palmieri, was a very good mentor for me and helped refine my writing. And I'm sure that came into play in this book. And also it gave me connections to people like my editor, Greg Cox, at Tor. He knew me through there, and so I was able to get his interest in the book. And he loved it and he bought it. So that's one of my main benefits of my Star Trek work, is that the networking, the connections.
Okay. Thanks very much. Will we see this book on Amazon and or Kindle?
Yeah, it's available in hardcover and in ebooks anywhere. And
All right. This is Gabriel Lemaine signing off.